Anthony Darby.
Shaw Ken.
We are happy to have on Pastor Martin Hutchinson and Grace Murdock, who is Salisbury Secretary of Kindness. Thank you guys so much for coming on.
Delighted to be here.
If those of you guys are unfamiliar, this is a little bit of a local spotlight. Grace is the official Secretary of Kindness for City of Salisbury, and an initiative that has been really fun and cool to watch all the different sub-projects that have come out of this larger sanctioning of you being the Kindness Secretary. Everything from you selling keychains back at Acorn Market to much larger projects and a way larger footprint than I think honestly I would have imagined a couple years ago when these things started. And quite honestly, to bring things to full circle, during a pandemic when the world is as scary as it's ever been and people are as stressed out as they've ever been, you know, taking a few minutes to focus on kindness is probably something that we could all benefit from. Would you agree?
We are very grateful for the response of the community and carrying this kindness mission on day to day, Anthony. It's been wonderful and it's just continuing to grow.
So tell me a little bit about how the path to becoming the Secretary of Kindness started with our Mayor, Jake.
I can really say that it started in 2013 when I created a little bracelet, and it morphed into a mission of its own through starting with Wicomico Grows Kindness. And part of that was I went to Jake in 2016 and told him that there was a Dance for Kindness, a worldwide event, and could we, I don't know, just clear North Division Street and have a dance of about 250 people? And he said yes. So that was one of the things that started uniting our community through kindness, and it's been yes ever since. And there were so many kindness events occurring, bringing speakers, worldwide speakers to schools and making donations, small donations throughout the community, that I was very honored when Jake donned me the Secretary of Kindness honor.
It's really tough for me to picture anybody else having that honor, right? I mean, I really adore the way that you carry yourself and the way that you've put this focus on just treating people better and just trying to be a good human. I mean, I think even just the taking time to appreciate that is just so important in today's world. And I think all too often we see how people's attitudes and how they treat each other really is a detriment to how they're able to succeed in the world. And just in reaching in kids, I know that you guys do a lot with kids and a lot with children and trying to get that mindfulness. We talk a lot about kindness, but we also talk a lot about mindfulness as well, right? And empathy. And you know, I don't know if, and I sound like an old guy saying this, and I don't know if it's these kids and their phones or what it is, but yeah, there's about to start popping kids' balls and they roll in my yard. But they seem disconnected, right? It seems that some of the soft skills, as is kind of quoted now, some of the personal skills that were so instilled into me, the manners, how you treat people, respect, treat others like you want to be treated, putting yourself in other people's shoes. These were all things that were instilled in me, but when I look around, I think sometimes we may have gotten away from them. And if you've had that same experience, I mean, is this kind of what fuels you?
I think you're right. I think they're missing, and I think that we have a role to play that no one else is playing in our society, to come alongside the students, the children, and help teach them how to treat one another and care for one another, be kind. And
give a better introduction of yourself, Martin, because for me, obviously you are Pastor Martin of Community Joy Church, but and not to discredit that, but to me, the bigger picture is what you do with your day-to-day life and how you spend your time and the dedication to our community.
So I wear many hats. I also was dubbed, actually prior to Grace, I have to say that because we're in this competition thing. Actually, we were in competition with our friend Bull. He always was in competition as to who could get on TV the most or get in print the most or whatever. And so now that he's not around, we kind of joke about that. But Mayor Day named myself Secretary of Community Gardens in 2016, I believe, and then you were 2017.
Something like
that. So I have been pastor of Community of Joy Church since 1999. We don't plan on going anywhere. I grew up an hour from here in Easton, Maryland, and when we moved back here, we decided this was going to be home. In 1999, Salisbury was nothing like it is now, and so there was a place for us to make a difference and to get involved. We bought a facility on South Boulevard in the Camden neighborhood, and when we did that in 2008, that neighborhood was in the politics of that neighborhood, the infighting, the always in the headlines, just not good. So we decided that we would try to live our lives in such a way that we were a blessing to others. So we invited people to have a pork roast every year. We went door to door and invited neighbors, and it would get 450 people that would come, and we would just serve them. No agenda, just neighbors getting together. And then I started getting frustrated with the church and just felt like I kept hitting a ceiling and pushing the church out of the building, because I believe that at its core, the church ought to be an agent of blessing and love, no strings attached in the community. Growing up on a farm in the Cordova, Easton area, Talbot County, I have always gardened, and so I had this idea to take that love of gardening and turn it outward to get the church engaged with our neighbors in a community garden mindset. And in 2015, then City Council President Jake Day, who is now Mayor Day, held a meeting and talked about the possibility of using a city-owned lot. And so that was where I got excited about putting a community garden. It happens to be right behind St. Francis Church, right next to a playground. And that was something that we dove into and this was now our 6th year with that.
And you talk about beating grace, so
in that process, then one of the other hats, because I really have a passion for the homeless community, and so when we bought our building, I told our congregation I didn't want a building with a steeple, and that's what we ended up with. And so I said, okay, we got to rip out the pews because we're going to turn our building into a homeless shelter in the winter, along with 13, 14 other churches in the community that have a model where it rotates from facility to facility. So we did that, but we didn't have a kitchen. So we went next door to our neighbors, Bethany Lutheran Church, and used their kitchen. They started working with us. The Restoration Project started working with us, and Beacon of Light, 2 churches that meet in Bethany's facility. So then we took them to the garden. And then, so that's kind of how that, and we still are involved in the homeless ministry. In fact, yesterday from 1:30 to 3:30, and every Tuesday from 1:30 to 3:30, there's a mobile shower trailer in Salisbury that I helped just kind of fan their flame and encourage them, and they set up shop on our facility in our parking lot and provide showers. They provided 7 showers yesterday.
It's a catalyst you play. I mean, we were able to participate some
Yes,
funds
you were.
towards that, and we would have not necessarily known about that because you were a facilitator of,
Right.
and Grace was as well of getting these things out there. So sometimes it's really just spreading the word of what you guys do, right?
We use social media. We're both over posters, and
I'm proud of it.
I won't apologize for that.
No, I think it's great,
It's
and
an important
I remember.
piece.
So I tried to submit an application for the TED Talk that you did, the same thing, right? And we didn't get approved. But your TED Talk, watching it and thinking about. So he gave a TED Talk about community gardens, and the kind of premises was creating this pride of your neighborhood, right? And what does it look like when you go to a playground but there's trash everywhere, and and how are you supposed to feel any self-worth if your environment is constantly debilitated? And we both are very much of the mindset of not pull yourself away with bootstraps, but I like to empower folks to be able to empower themselves, right? And one of the things that I love about how you lead is that you call it as you see it, right? You've had some instances in a community garden where people have trashed it, have done negative things, and you're quick to say, look, man, if we want nice things, we got to take care of nice things, right? There's like this risk. I think you do a decent job of judging the responsibilities that come along with things, along with the benefits. And when I saw that TED Talk, it was like, wow, it's one thing to teach kids how to grow food for themselves and to be a part of that and actually watch something grow and understand that process. There's a lot of really great insights that come from that. But then also just the giving people back this, having a sense of pride of where they live and pride of their neighborhood. We had Mitchell Jermichael on here. We were talking about the Doverdale Lacrosse program and how that created a sense of pride. And when the Fruitland Falcons brought their kids over to play on the home turf of Doverdale, there's this like sense of like of community, right?
Absolutely.
As opposed to maybe it being just a park that's got trash and it's just kind of a pass through to get to Route 50. And you know, I just
Absolutely.
so many initiatives focus on spending a lot of money on maybe new things or these big ideas. And when I see folks like you that just put the work in and have these organic movements that are so powerful, it's so compelling to me. It makes me really, that's why I typically try to participate as much as I can with anything that you guys do, because
We appreciate that.
I really appreciate what you guys do. And like as a business owner, it takes, I don't think government fixes a lot of the problems. It's just my own personal mindset, right? And I think you need the business community to step in, because if they are the thought leaders of the area and they typically have the resources between money and employees and manpower, then they need to be the conduits of these initiatives. And I think when you get community buy-in, and I talked about this before, I think one of the great things that Jake Day has done has built the business community. I think before you had a fragmented business community where you had good old boys and people that have always been here and this is how we do it, and not too fond of new people coming in here and taking our piece of the pie, versus a lot of folks like myself who were come here's. We saw a great opportunity. I came here in 2005 and looked at Salisbury and said, this is not the end of the road for Salisbury. Salisbury has not even started growing yet. There are resources, there's a river here, there's a lot of beautiful things. This place is gonna grow. And I'm gonna invest my money and my time in here. And I think Jake did a great job of catering to us and saying, look, you guys are all a business community. We need an airport, right? We need infrastructure, we need these projects, we gotta move forward. And it's a long way of getting to it, but we can't do it by ourselves as a business community. Like, we need the nonprofits and we need folks like you to present the opportunities to us and to do some of the logistical boots on the ground so that it's easier for me to tell Brandon, hey, they've already figured out the truck that's going to pull their shower, but now they need donations to pay for that truck. Let's kick them some cash and let's promote, so that now it's just a funding issue. It's not of logistics and a funding issue.
And you're so right that one of the things that both of us have experienced is it's a partnership, and it's a wide-ranging partnership. And it's players at the table that maybe wouldn't normally sit down at the table together doing work together. I found that in the community garden. Grace has found that
Absolutely.
in the Kindness Initiative. It's just over and over and over again that happens. I believe there's a passage in Acts where the early church was growing by great leaps and bounds, and it says that they were working at creating the goodwill of all. And I take that to heart. And so I feel like our task as a church is to create goodwill, and so to be agents of blessing and love. And when we started doing that, you know, it was amazing to me the money that just fell out of the sky to that project. You know, I did submit some grant requests, but then I got businesses like yours and Old Town Deli and other agencies in town that say, you know, hey, what can we do? How can we get in? How can we help? And they send us money, and they send us people and get involved in the process.
One of the great projects that you did, it's amazing, when the pandemic happened, I got to see firsthand how the school system went from being in charge of teaching kids to feeding kids. And this is not something that's really, in my mind, publicized enough of understanding of what that meant. And something as simple as not realizing that one day was a teacher enrichment day, so it was already planned to be off, right? That means that there were kids that weren't going to get fed that day. You were quick enough to come to the action, rally up businesses like ourselves, be able to buy pizzas, and we fed, 30-something kids that day, right?
Yes.
And I think that's those are the win-wins, and I think it does take a community. I think it does take a village. As someone who now has 3 little girls and realizes that as much as I would love to just be able to raise my kids in a little bubble and be the only one that influences them, they're influenced by our community. They're influenced by these types of things. And when they see these acts of kindness and they see these seeds being planted, I think it gives us hope that we can get past some of these things.
I think the other important thing that happened in those TEDx talks that Jake Day made happen is that
Sorry you weren't on the stage.
Hey,
That's right.
it was a much more controversial topic at the time.
I am so honored to know that I got on that, made it on that stage. But what happened was Martin and I reconnected through TEDx. And it has been, we call each other partners in kind now because we do fan each other's flames. Mentoring me, and I am just so grateful. And it is all about people and the power of one. It starts with one. I started one campaign. Martin started one community garden. It's now blossomed to 7 or 8 that have moved around in the lower counties. The shower, Leslie
And George.
making that shower happen. But then it's the relationships that you build. It matters to the people. And I just want to use a quote from the book that we've just been involved in with Love Meets Life. And my quote was, "Success is attaining your dream while helping others to benefit from that dream materializing." And that was by Sugar Ray Leonard. And I think that's what is wonderful about what Martin and I do and what you're doing to help all these programs is that it builds relationships and connections. And everything that we're involved in has to do with unifying the community. I want to see people together. And this is very hard on me for us not to be able to gather and to be one community in many different settings. We do have events coming up and they will happen. They're going to be virtual, but we will still continue to try to make these connections.
So how have you found it a lot, I guess, like you've all have tried to navigate through these last couple of months in the pandemic, but dealing with the things that you guys do is really about the connection and the physical connection of people and bringing people together in a physical location and stuff. How much, I'm sure it's been a struggle to try to maintain that and keep everything that you guys have created this far together throughout the course of the pandemic. So I can only imagine what it's like not having physical connections as opposed to just being in a virtual setting.
So we miss those physical connections dearly. However, there are still lots of needs in our community, and so we are working at meeting those needs in a variety of ways. I'll talk about the ones, and then you can talk about the ones that you've kind of been in. We kind of are both involved because she comes to the garden and helps, and I'm one of the original kindness commissioners, and so we do that. But as Anthony said, as soon as school got out, there was a need to take meals to students. I knew the kids in our neighborhood around the garden were not going to be able to go to school and pick up a meal, so we asked for 50 lunches to come. So we had Pinehurst teachers and school or church people working side by side. And again, the partnerships, because I've put in the time as a faith-based partner at Pinehurst since 2008, encouraging those teachers, loving on those teachers, just doing anything we can to make their hard job a little easier. They joined us in that task, and so we fed from the Monday after school got out till the summer when the restoration project came in and took over for me and Community of Joy and the Pinehurst teachers to provide meals to those students. The garden still needed to be worked. When the governor shut everything down and said only essential travel and only essential work, I checked with Mayor Day and he checked with the governor to make sure that community gardening was essential because it was the spring, and if we didn't plant seeds, we weren't going to harvest things, and I couldn't imagine that. So we were able to distance at the garden, and we kept working it all summer long. And then as more needs became we became aware of more needs, there's a task force that's been meeting for probably 30 weeks now, the Vulnerable Populations Task Force, that Michelle Ennis at Tri-Community Mediation leads and facilitates. It's bringing all kinds of county, city, nonprofits, businesses, agencies together to look at the places where we're missing populations who are at risk.
The homeless shelters in general have been devastated by the pandemic, and I know that it didn't work out as a long-term solution, but at one point we were chipping in, we were buying tents. I mean, we were doing everything that we could to try. And that was heartbreaking, right? Because we saw those tents fail, and we were just trying to do anything we possibly could to create a scenario for these people. But when a lot of the shelters, almost all the shelters had to close, correct? I mean,
they're at 50% capacity,
and they were already hurting at 100% capacity
Right.
for the most part,
Right.
right? I mean, these are not typically underutilized resources. These
No.
are typically resources that
There aren't enough
There aren't
resources
enough.
in that.
and then you cut that down to 50%, and you really create. And you talk about the most vulnerable people, right? These are the people that don't have the safety nets, that don't have family members. I mean, homelessness is your passion, so I'm not here to try to teach you anything. But my eyes were opened when you really dive into some of the personas per se of,
Sure.
of homeless, and you look at the vast ways that people find themselves to be technically homeless. Some people are homeless in a very temporary setting of just on a rough time of a job loss. Some are serially homeless, and because and they don't necessarily want help, right? They're not necessarily looking to get out of the homelessness. There's a lot of different diversity within that population, but I saw the amount of resources, especially, I mean, it wasn't warm in March. It wasn't warm in April. Like, it was still very cold and rainy, and it wasn't a great season for those folks.
Just yesterday at the shower trailer, we had a neat experience. A lady that I connected with through the power of social media came, and she is a extreme couponer. You know, I didn't even know they still existed, but she does all this buying with coupons, and she asked what we needed, and so she went out, and the week that we were talking, she used coupons and bought all these supplies that we use at the shower trailer and brought them by yesterday, and then she told us her story. A year ago, she was a homeless mom of 3 kids living in her car. Her kids got taken away because they were in the car. She didn't have a place for them. Now she has a place. She's got her kids back, and she's wanting to give back. So she brought all those supplies that she
I
bought
read that
on
story
her
yesterday.
own dime, and she's coming next week with her mother to make food for the guests that come.
And like, we have employees that have had diverse backgrounds as well, and have embraced some of these different initiatives. And like, we have a lot of patients that come to us and have been through a journey. We had a patient come in last week celebrating a 1 year of sobriety, right? And this is a patient that he came to us, we got him clean off of opioids and was doing well. His dad ended up joining the program. For the first time they were connecting, and then an old friend moved back from Florida. That's all it took.
Yep.
And he ended up, this is just a true story, he ended up dropping heroin in a parking lot next to ours, and we saw it on camera, and had to suspend him and basically take corrective action and say, look, we're sorry you're in this position, but can't do this stuff here, and blah, blah, blah. Comes back last week. So that was 6 months in being suspended, and getting back with us, and now being a year clean. And like, you see that, how much a year can change someone. You see the different state of mind that he's in, and how he's able to talk, and you hear about the relationships with his parents now being so much more strong. Like, to be able to invest in folks when they're at their worst, and then to see them come back and then participate in the process. We see a lot of your drug counselors, right? They've been through it.
Yep.
A lot of it.
Yep.
And you see a lot of our staff, and they've been through the depression, they've been through some of the worst things, and they've gotten out of it, and now they're giving back to our patients. And like, that to me is the full circle of,
It is. And it's beautiful.
It's beautiful. And when I read that story yesterday, and just the story, I don't know if it was you or someone who told me a story about someone who hadn't had a shower. I guess it probably read your Facebook post. They hadn't had a shower since the beginning of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
It took an hour and 15-minute shower. And, I put my empathy hat on and my mindfulness, and I close my eyes and I think about what that must have been like, just been gross and filthy, and be able to have a hot shower. I mean, it's the little things, right?
And because it's an on-demand water heater, he was able to have hot water the whole time, which just blew his mind.
Yeah.
I mean, he came out with the biggest smile and was like, "I'm sorry, but I had lots of places to scrub, and it felt so good." And he even cleaned the bathroom afterwards. He didn't realize that that's the task. We take that on. Pete, George, and Leslie take that on after every shower that's taken. They go in, totally disinfect and clean everything. New rug, new towels, the whole 9 yards. It just was neat.
I think an important part of all of our messages, Anthony, here at your wellness space and Martin's Community Garden and the church and in the kindness space, is providing opportunities for people to rebound or to participate. We are not special. We are regular citizens of this community, and everybody has a gift that they can provide that could possibly turn someone's life around. That's why you want to employ kindness and love, because you do not know the baggage that people are carrying. Kindness is free, giving out love is free. So I think that everyone has a gift that they can offer.
And it doesn't even have to be that they have resources either, because one of the things that we've been doing since the beginning of the pandemic is partnering with the Maryland Food Bank and taking food to neighborhoods of need. And it's a USDA program that's been running. It'll run through the end of October, and then I'm told that it's ending, sadly, but we're figuring out other ways to do that. So we take this 30-pound box of fresh vegetables and fruits, and we give it to people along with a gallon of milk. And I heard twice last week from people that received a box and then asked for a second box to take to a friend, how they didn't have the money or resources to go buy something to share with somebody, but when we were giving it, they were willing to take the next step to make sure it got into the hands of somebody who had need. And the blessing that was to them, to be able to be an agent of blessing, was where they were telling the story. And it was
you're empowering people, and you're
Absolutely.
being that catalyst. And you know, to your point, there are people that do want to help, but they don't feel like they have the ability. Sometimes they really don't, right?
So often the response of the government agency or the agency that's doing the giving out says, no, only one per family or whatever. And we don't do that. We just say, if you have a friend that you can bless and they'd be blessed by this, and we trust that they're going to do that, and they do. And then when they come back and tell you that story, how much it meant to them to be empowered to be an agent of blessing, it's just
Right, and I've seen people drive up who can barely walk and barely lift the boxes, but they take them so that their neighbors can be blessed. Now that's a wonderful heart right there.
it's a kind heart.
That's right.
And these things are happening every day, right? And maybe sometimes the media and the news doesn't always highlight the
No.
good things that are happening, and they're so quick to show attention or I'm gonna get in trouble for rolling around this chair. So quick to show tension and adversity and conflict, but it's so good for me, just so I don't lose my. Because you can honestly, you can lose your mind in these times, right? So for me, it's focusing and saying, no, I'm going to focus on the good things that are happening. I'm going to take every opportunity that I have when I can do something to participate. Just be, to your point, it's free, right? And
That's right.
It's amazing to me sometimes how I'm very observative, right? So if you're walking down the street and I don't know you, but you have cool shoes on, I'm gonna tell you have cool shoes.
That's right.
Or I'm gonna tell you I like
That's
your jacket.
perfect.
Or I'm gonna tell you like whatever it is. And it's amazing sometimes you see their kind of a stern face and are walking down the street and you
Right.
say something and they immediately fill up with warmness and they smile and you're like, that was so easy, right?
Right.
cost
And
a
in a
thing.
life where sometimes it's so hard to make people's lives happy, in a life where sometimes things can seem so challenging, like take advantage of the easy shit, easy
Right.
stuff, of just being able to give a quick compliment or just, and I know that if I'm not mistaken, World Kindness Week is coming up in November.
It is, and it's about to launch. Dance for Kindness is about to launch on Monday, October 19th, and we have.
November 19th.
No, it's the launch to sign up is October
okay.
19th, Dance for Kindness, and it's going to be virtual. That's okay.
I knew it was the events in November.
I know.
You guys seem like partners in kindness. You guys seem like marriage in kindness.
Checkmate right there. So it's going to launch on social media so people can register, and then you'll get updates. And when the dance is ready for everybody to learn, schools can sign up, businesses can sign up, individuals can, and there'll be more information on social media under danceforkindness.com. So that's coming, and it'll be our 5th participation, and I have help this year. And what happened is that Dominique Sessa, girl in the pink wheelchair, has agreed to help me because I need youth and I need energy to take this on. And the impact that it has on the children of our community is tremendous. And they start asking for it. When is the dance, Miss Grace? When are we going to get the dance links so we can learn the dance? So it's coming. There are some neat things in Dance for Kindness this year, challenges that everybody can be involved in, and it takes a phone video and you post them. And the thing that I want people to realize is that Martin and I are very proud of being kindness and love influencers. We're with it. We're current. And I'm delighted that when I overpost and people notice we're being models for kindness and love, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to influence people
And you are.
grow their hearts, because there is science behind what kindness and love does for your heart. Happier, healthier, and longer you live. I'm going for the longer. So I am delighted that Dance for Kindness and World Kindness Week, Kindness Commission, let me speak about that, Anthony. The mayor commissioned #KindSBY as the city's initiative to support our first World Kindness U.S. City designation that happened in October 2019. We have 20 commissioners, Jake being one. I keep him abreast of what
How
we're
about
doing.
Brandon Bell being one?
Absolute. Brandon is a wonderful
Desiree.
kindness commissioner.
And
And
Desiree.
Desiree.
Yep.
And we, in all sections of the community, they do what we try to do, and that is to share kindness and love and to model it and offer people opportunities. And World Kindness Week, which is November 8th through the 14th, will have different activities that KindSBY will be looking for people to do in our community to just extend the love and kindness that we've already started.
Well, I look forward to participating in some of those initiatives and definitely getting my girls involved as well.
Thank you.
And just to recap, on October 19th, that's when we'll start seeing some of the information and have an
Dance for
opportunity to
Kindness.
sign up.
Yes.
And when you say sign up, it's a coordinated dance, so everyone will do the same dance kind of at the same time in unity, right?
Right.
And I guess I could sign up as a business and make my staff do the dances?
Absolutely.
We're signing up for
Yeah,
that.
okay.
And absolutely. And then you're trying to encourage some schools and other organizations to participate. And then I guess we'll have like kind of a virtual coming together.
Yes.
These were in person before?
They were.
And
We
when-
had more than 500 people for 4 years consecutively, downtown Salisbury, North Division.
Yes.
And last year was at the amphitheater, and it was beautiful. And we just want to replicate that the best we can virtually. And I know that it's going to be a lot of fun because there are challenges, and it will be, again, worldwide videos. If you want to see past dances, you can just Google Dance for Kindness, Salisbury, Maryland, and they'll come up. Pack 14 also has them on. Jesse Campbell videoed it for us, and it goes worldwide every year.
That's phenomenal.
Yep.
So let's talk about this book a little bit.
Okay.
You guys have co-authored and have participated in a book, Love Meets Life.
Yeah.
And tell me a little bit about how you guys got drawn into this project.
Let me have stick.
And
So our friend Tara EJ, who Grace is famous for putting people on a stick. I have not been on a stick yet, and I've not been on the other end of that stick either. But anyhow, she lives in Arizona, and she makes these love glasses. They're heart-shaped glasses, and she...
you look good in them, by the way, on
Thank you.
WBOC. I
Thank
want to
you.
be honest with you. I didn't know that you could
Flash,
pull them
you know,
off, but they were
really-
tight.
Yeah, and so a year ago, she and her husband came from Arizona to DC on a company trip, and Grace had connected with her. She had connected with Grace after Grace's TEDx talk. She found her by searching the web. They connected, became friends from a long distance. And when they were in DC, they decided to drive over and meet us. And so we showed them around. They planted some lettuce in the community garden, and we gave them a tour. And we've just been really good friends ever since. And she wrote a book. Each of us wrote a chapter in this book. There are 53 authors. And so she wrote a chapter in a book previously and had such a great experience. She said, I have friends in kindness work around the world that I should get to write a chapter on love, how love shows up in their life. And that was the task. And Grace was in from the get-go. They twisted my arm to come in because I didn't really think I was an author. I write to speak, not to read. And anyhow, I ended up telling the story of the Camden Community Garden in mine, and Grace tells the story of the journey Salisbury's been on to become the first World Kindness USA city. It launched yesterday. We have copies available for $17. We make a little bit of profit out of that, and it's we're splitting that profit between Kind SBY and Community of Joy Church, the two organizations that we are a part of and do all our acts of kindness and love through. There are 53 authors. They're all very different. There are some from, there's one from Ireland. There's 30 from Arizona. I think we're the only ones from Maryland. Mm-hmm. And each one wrote a different story. Some stories will touch you and make you cry. Some stories won't hit you at all, but they hit somebody else. Already in one day, it became a bestseller in 10 categories on Amazon just yesterday.
That's
on our
nice.
launch day. We had a publisher that worked with Tara to do this, and it's been a learning experience and journey for us, and it's been neat to be able to do and to have. And we've been working at getting it in the community. We bought 50 and we sold 50 in less than a week, and so we have another 75 that we've got probably a quarter way sold already.
Well, that's phenomenal, and the money's going to two amazing causes. So please, I'm compelling you to please go and purchase the book, even if it's for a gift of someone else and to give a gift of kindness. But I know that money will all go to the right place and just at the highest level. I mean, these lists are wonky, so don't put too much into it. But Salisbury was just named one of the best places to live in the
Absolutely.
United States, right? And when I really think about Salisbury and I think about kindness initiatives and community gardens, and like, that's to me what makes the fabric of us so amazing. I mean, we have such a diverse community, and it can really bring a lot of different cultures around, and I think Salisbury is a melting pot in a really unique way. To have a city this small but be able to get authentic Jamaican food and be able to get authentic Haitian food and have the culture that you wouldn't necessarily find in a rural Delmarva town. Just the things that you guys are doing, it really does make this community so great to live in, and I'm so thankful of that. Is there anything that you guys want to promote, anything that you guys want to mention before we sign off today?
I don't know where your listeners are from, if they're local or if they're farther away, but for $3 I can mail the book. It just makes it $20.
So if someone does want to purchase the book from you guys, tell them the best way to get in touch with you guys.
So they can email me at Martin, Martin, Hutchinson, Hutchison, all one word, at Comcast.net.
We'll spell that out.
Yep. And I'll get it to them, or you can reach out to us on Facebook and just give me your address, send me a check, and I'll be glad to mail it out. We'll be downtown in a variety of locations. We'll be there 2 times Friday. We'll be here on your campus next week. I don't know when this airs.
Unfortunately, this is going to air past that,
but we may come back if we're invited. But we can make sure copies get to people if they get in touch with us.
Awesome.
And they are signed copies, and we even include a bookmark of your choice of pictures of each of us in them, and they're also good for keeping mice away. I do want to reference that article about Salisbury being the best place, one of the best places to live. I immediately sent the Baltimore Sun, what was that under, CBS affiliate, whoever wrote that article, I dashed off a letter and I said, you did miss one little facet of why it's so great to live in Salisbury, and that's because we're the first world
gardens.
Yeah. Because we're the first world Kindness USA city ever in the world. So we'll see if I get a response from that. I told him to send a reporter.
You have such great access to medical cannabis here in Salisbury, Maryland. We were making whatever you need, right?
It's all that, and I can give a testimony to your CBD. Not to the medical cannabis, but to the CBD oil. That's been very, very helpful. I've tried a number of different brands, and yours has worked most effectively. And as a long-term sufferer from chronic Lyme's disease, the ankle joint pain was just debilitating, and the CBD oil really does take care of that.
So Chuck actually doesn't use a lot of the products on the dispensary side either. He's just pretty much CBD oil, and
it's been phenomenal.
Had a little sports injury, and
so I ripped up a little bit of the cartilage in my ribs like 2 weeks ago, which is like an injury that can last a little bit longer. But I honestly feel like, because I'm so consistent with taking the tincture every night before I go to bed, it helps with the inflammation and a lot of that kind of stuff, and like I feel like I'm ready to get back
And you
into life
sleep.
now. And you sleep a
And
lot
you sleep
better.
so well.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
because I take it at night. So I take one
Me too.
dropper full at night. I sleep way better. And just the aches and the pains, I still try to stay active and maintain a little bit of my younger self, you know? So I couldn't do it without it. I swear
Right.
by it. So
I
and
agree.
I've kind of
It's been super helpful for me too. It's probably been about a year and a half now that I've taken it religiously, and I find that if I don't take it in a very regimented way, I just don't get the same desired effects. But it's all in my, like, you know, as I try to look at what wellness means to me, these are all different tools in our arsenal, whether it's CBD, whether it's THC, whether it's breathing exercises, whether it's being mindful, right? Whether it's saying, I'm going to take 2 hours out of my week and serve others because I know that at the end of the day, even though they may need me for those 2 hours, my mental psyche will be better because I gave back, right? Like,
Absolutely.
and these are things that, for me, as a business owner and as someone who's constantly kind of stressed out and always go, this slowing down, making sure that I take the time to call Pastor Martin back and make sure that we got the checked in for this initiative. Like, when I sit back and I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I feel so stressed. I'm like, oh, well, you know what? We're doing some really good things too. And like, I think that balance is not maybe so important in the 80s and 90s of business-minded folks, but I think now in today's world of where the expectations of
more important than ever.
businesses are more important.
Well, I think our society is reaping what we sowed in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, we talk about that a
We
lot.
talk
I mean,
about
we're
it
80s
a lot.
babies, right? Everything from
horrible packaged foods every night.
Packaged
Dinner,
foods.
to like,
Absolutely.
I mean,
Yep.
it's the
pharmaceuticals.
Everything. Everything.
It's the lifestyle thing, and I feel like now.
the blinders, the
Yep.
me-centeredism, and all of that.
Yep, and
Disposable things.
Yeah.
it's all, and I feel like now people are kind of seeing it. I feel like it just hit a crescendo in the last like couple of years, right? Where just the like social media and just the negativity everywhere in the world, and like just I think people are like trying to now kind of take a step back. Like, okay, let's take a more holistic approach and look at kind of the natural world and look to people instead of things.
Yep.
Right.
And that whole kind of dichotomy is coming
Absolutely.
full circle. So it's interesting to see.
It is.
May I add one more thing, Anthony,
Please.
about Kind SBY? Sponsorships are available, and people can go to kindsby.com, and we use those funds through their sponsorships for everything we do, kindness in the community. We are in the midst of a book campaign right now to put books in schools, and the name of the campaign is Celebrate Diversity. And there are wish lists. There's
So
a
we
wish.
bought some books.
Yes, the wish
I'm trying to think of the
list
ones that we
is
got.
on Amazon, and it covers every ethnicity, every belief,
one
just
on
about,
mindfulness.
and they are. The books are beautiful.
They really are. So I see a couple of different books to choose from if you go there. I can't think of the exact name of the one that we did.
The mindfulness one.
Yes, I am human.
Yes.
Yes, and thank you so much for that. And also, they are going to be delivered to schools on World Kindness Day, November 13th, by the Kindness Commissioners. And we couldn't be more excited about that.
That's awesome. I think it's so important. One of the things that I'm learning about just is the identity, right? And what kids see and how much they attach identity, and having books that are reflective of what our classrooms look like, I think is incredibly important. Having role models and idols that kids can look up to and understand that look like them and talk like them and act like them and come from similar communities is so important. And, I kind of noticed it a little bit. We come from a lacrosse world. And as more and more African Americans were playing college lacrosse, they would go back to these youth programs, and maybe the 2 or 3 black kids, because typically they're the minority on a team, they didn't have to look at just white players and say I could be like them. They would all attract to that. And Salisbury has had an abundance of folks coming from a lot of different diverse communities, a lot of different looks and shapes. And it's really cool for Salisbury kids to play lacrosse, be able to look at a team and say, oh, he looks like me. I can relate to them. It's important. And
Yes,
when I
build
saw-
it and they will come. Provide the opportunity, and it will happen. Put it out into the universe, it will happen.
And let's end on that. Thank you guys so much for coming in today. I really
Thanks, guys.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's a wrap.